2 out of 3 Gen Xers never opted for a tattoo. You are among them. The topic surfaces periodically. Someone at a backyard barbecue, a longtime acquaintance, glances at your bare skin and asks a question with that specific, awkward hesitation. Wait, you don't have even one tattoo? A brief silence follows. You can almost see them recalibrating their perception of you. For a fleeting moment, you were viewed as suspicious, interesting, principled, or perhaps just stuck in 1987. I can't quite decide which. You simply shrug, refill your drink, and move the conversation along. Yet a part of you registers their genuine shock. To be frank, that's my experience. There was a profound psychology behind that unmarked arm, one far more complex than most people realize.
Consider your historical position. You represent the bridge generation regarding body art. You witnessed the transition of tattooing from a subculture associated with bikers into a mainstream phenomenon. You were part of the first generation of young adults who could walk into a professional, sterile studio in a local shopping center. You saw your siblings, college peers, and colleagues gradually begin to sport ink in steady, predictable waves. Pew Research has documented this shift. Currently, about a third of Americans possess a tattoo. Specifically, 46% of adults between 30 and 49, and 56% of women under 30. For your specific generation, Ipsos data suggests roughly 32% have at least one tattoo. The rest remain untouched. No butterfly on the ankle, no tribal patterns, no cursive quotes along the collarbone.
Not even a tiny secret one. You were of age. You were part of the culture. The timing was perfect. And yet, you chose not to participate. To call it fear is inaccurate. You weren't afraid. The real question is what specifically caused you to hesitate every single time. Because you came close, didn't you? You nearly did it. You walked past a studio one evening with friends and felt a momentary impulse. You might have even whispered maybe once. But then an internal voice whispered no. A subtle, nearly silent refusal that repeated for 30 years. Initially, that voice was guarding you against permanence. People treat the concept of permanence as if it is a shallow, meaningless word. But your brain processed it with much greater depth.
Imagine yourself at 22, sitting in a tattoo parlor, selecting a design. In the back of your mind, a voice asks, will you still love this at 40? Most people ignore that inner critic. You couldn't. You sat there attempting to visualize your 40-year-old self, only to realize that person was a total stranger. You had no way of knowing what that future version of you would value. You couldn't predict what they would find cringeworthy, who they would vote for, who they would love, or what music they would listen to. Your thought was, I refuse to make a permanent commitment on behalf of a person I haven't even met. That is the core psychology. Most people do not view their future selves as distinct individuals.
They assume the future version is merely their current self with a few more wrinkles. You knew better. You had already seen how much you changed between 15 and 22. You knew 40 would be no different. This is a quiet truth about your cohort. You possess a more honest understanding of how much human taste fluctuates. You watched your passion for Limp Bizkit fade into indifference. You watched yourself experiment with a goatee, only to shave it off and apologize to your reflection. You saw your political convictions evolve into something entirely different. By age 25, you had gathered enough personal data to realize that your identity was not a stable constant.
Consequently, when someone offered a needle and asked you to choose something for eternity, you couldn't commit. Honesty prevented it. Data on tattoo regret supports your stance. Roughly 1 in 4 tattooed Americans regret a piece of ink. The statistics on this are telling.
Those who regret their tattoos generally got them at a significantly younger age than those who don't. That 22-year-old version of you that you distrusted was statistically correct. The future stranger you refused to bind would have likely despised the choice. Now consider the second layer, the wave. You abstained from tattoos precisely because they were becoming ubiquitous. Read that again. The sheer popularity of the trend was what triggered your refusal.
It is a different phenomenon entirely. You observed the first wave, like the tribal armbands. You saw a teammate come back in 1996, looking as if he had undergone a religious rite. You saw the second wave, the lower back tattoos on every woman at the club. Then came the Chinese characters that mistakenly meant soup, and the dolphins on hips. Then the dream catchers, the infinity symbols with breathe written through them, and the matching tattoos that fell apart alongside the relationships. He saw the barbed wire and the koi fish on people who didn't even know what the fish represented. He saw the same design appearing on multiple people in the same bar within a single week.
You appreciate good art as much as anyone. You aren't the type to roll your eyes at everything. You simply noticed. You observed the crowd without feeling the need to join them. You have done this your entire life. The tattoo industry served as the first major test of a specific instinct you possess. It is the instinct that suggests, if everyone is suddenly doing this, slow down and investigate why. You pause. You observe. You wait to see where the trend lands. When you slow down, you realize most people were simply getting what was trendy, what their cousins had, or what they saw on a poster. They were following a script.
A massive number of people selected something that didn't truly reflect them, and then labeled it permanent. This caused you to step back. You were resisting the wave. The ink itself was secondary. A part of you has always been allergic to the phrase, everyone else is doing it. Marketing research has validated this for years. Your generation is frequently described as having the highest level of skepticism. You can sense groupthink and instinctively distance yourself from it. That instinct is a legitimate psychological trait, and your unmarked skin is one of the clearest proofs of it.
Thirdly, there is a layer most people overlook: costly signaling. In biology, a peacock grows a massive tail. A bird that survives despite that handicap is signaling its strength. I am so capable that I can afford this burden. Tattoos function similarly. A tattoo signals, I am committed to this. I am willing to endure pain to display it. It is a loud, permanent, and visible signal. You, however, send the opposite signal. Your bare arm is a message in itself. It says, I haven't found anything worth wearing forever yet. I am still listening. I haven't committed my most permanent canvas to a passing whim. That is a signal too.
It is quieter and won't grab attention at a party, but it serves as evidence of a specific personality type. You are someone who hasn't finalized your identity. You are someone keeping doors open, having watched others lock themselves in too quickly. A 2012 study compared the personalities of tattooed versus non-tattooed individuals. The tattooed group scored higher in extroversion, sensation-seeking, and the need for uniqueness, but lower in conscientiousness. The non-tattooed group showed the inverse: higher conscientiousness, a slower commitment pace, and more caution regarding visible decisions. In polite terms, it means you think things through.
The data reveals a genuine distinction. There is another factor: the body itself. Most people treat their bodies as mere scenery for their lives, not as personal property. You do not. You have always understood that your body is the only thing on this planet that truly belongs to you. It isn't your job, which can be lost. It isn't your house, which the bank owns. It isn't your relationships, which can end. It isn't your memories, which can be unreliable.
Your body is the only asset that has had your name on it since birth. You don't deface your own assets. You think long-term about what is truly yours.
Many of you grew up seeing adults neglect their possessions. You saw cars ruined by poor maintenance and houses decay due to deferred repairs. You internalized a rule. The things that are yours must be protected, not impulsively decorated. When someone offers a needle to mark your only body, to promote a fleeting opinion, your body reacts first. Your body says, "Don't damage the inventory. We need this for the next 50 years. That is a quintessential Gen X practicality. Quiet, unglamorous, and correct. Now for the identity aspect, which most people miss. When asked why they got tattoos, many people say, "I needed a way to show people who I am." Pew's data is telling. 69% of tattooed Americans got ink to honor or remember something. The tattoo acts as a signpost, an external label for an internal identity. You, however, never required that signpost. You might not have had a rehearsed monologue for a podcast, but you knew who you were. You didn't need an external object to validate your existence. You weren't searching for a place to mount your identity. This is a highly underrated trait of your generation, a stable inner self that requires no external proof.
You don't need a band shirt to prove your taste, or a social media post to confirm an experience. You don't need to ink a lyric to remember its meaning. The meaning's already within you. The skin adds nothing. Younger generations often use tattoos because digital life makes identity feel fluid and unstable. They are constantly observed and defined by bios and photos. In a world where identity feels like a moving target, a tattoo was a way to anchor it. It says, "This part is fixed." You didn't grow up needing to anchor yourself. You grew up with a sense of self that was allowed to be private. No one was watching, and no one demanded proof. So your body remained a blank canvas. Finally, there is the relationship with regret. Most people assume they can always course correct or move on. A tattoo is a rare modern decision that is truly permanent. Removal is difficult and imperfect. Many of you are allergic to making irreversible decisions that cannot be refined. This is a strength. You have seen enough of the world to know that the smartest move is to leave room for future adjustments. You don't want to be trapped by the politics or relationships of your 22-year-old self. You keep your options open and hold on to the receipt. This isn't indecision, it's wisdom. You know that anything fixed is often just waiting to become embarrassing. The tattoo is a fixed thing, and you do not make fixed things lightly. That is a skill learned through experience. So when someone asks, "Wait, you don't have a single tattoo?" they are actually asking why you opted out of such a visible commitment. The answer is simple. You operate on a different algorithm. You take permanent choices seriously. You don't trust temporary impulses, groupthink, or the version of yourself that liked the song you now find embarrassing. You refuse to staple anything to your body that your future self will have to deal with. Here is the final thought. In a world of loud announcements, sleeves, bios, and collarbone quotes, you are among the few who remain a surprise. You are someone who hasn't revealed everything before speaking. Someone whose identity isn't pre-printed on the packaging. You watched the wave, ran the tests, and decided that the cleanest move was to stay unadorned. That is a 30-year decision. It is quiet and deliberate, and it is perfectly fine. It isn't weird at all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.